So it is Saturday, December 7th, 2013, and we are once again in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal doing a little protest, and in part it has to do with observing Chalica, which is a Unitarian Universalist observation, the Unitarian Universalist holiday that dedicates 7 days to the contemplation, as it were, of Unitarian Universalist principles. So just setting up my picket signs here, and it's still a bit of a mess here in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. There's construction going on. They're putting in new sewage pipes and a look of thing in front of the church. Looks like they're almost completed that task now. But there's still, you know, a fair bit of construction machinery here, and they haven't totally filled in the area where they put in the pipes, and they still have to pave the road and so on. And here are my picket signs: a church that spits in God's eye, Unitarian perversion of justice, sucks you, asterisk you. And that is on the table tonight. UU censor and suppress critics. And then over here we have Unitarian bullying and bigotry, suck you, asterisk you. And last but by no means least, and this is a sign that actually needs some corrections done, and actually it's not the last one, there's one more. Anyway, Unitarian prejudice and bigotry, suck you, asterisk you. Yes, I know there's a typo there. That will be corrected one of these days soon. And then here we have finally Church of the Image Tarnishing Minister, which originally referred to Reverend Ray Drennan, but has since become applicable to Reverend Diane Rollert herself. But not only Reverend Diane Rollert, this picket sign slogan, besides being applicable to a variety of other Unitarian Universalist ministers, if we think of church in the broader sense, in the sense of the larger Unitarian Universalist religious community, well, I think this picket sign slogan refers very, very well to UUA President Reverend Dr. Peter Morales for various reasons, but he has definitely tarnished the image of the Unitarian Universalist Church, and by that I mean the whole Unitarian Universalist religious community, not just one congregation, but the whole denomination. So tonight there's a concert going on. This sign isn't really helping very much, so we'll come over to here, the sign on the tree, which is actually kind of interesting because I've actually been ticketed just for having these picket signs leaning up against trees. Now, since that ticketing, which was quite some years ago, the cops haven't bothered me. But nonetheless, strictly speaking, this taping of a sign to a tree could potentially get a ticket. So we have Carmina and Friends, merry seasonal music, festive, celebrant Noel, sing along, chanty, and whatever. So we're here because this happens to be happening, which I presume will attract not only the usual church members, and then more of them perhaps than usual, or some that don't normally attend church services, but I'm hoping that, you know, some members of the non-Unitarian public will show up for this. I'm pretty sure at least some will. So anyway, it is the 7th day of December, and it is actually the 6th day of the observance of Chalica, and the Unitarian Universalist principle that is being celebrated today is the 6th principle, obviously, and it calls for how the words go, it's something along the lines of affirming and promoting world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. So basically a very broad call for peace and liberty and justice for everybody. Unfortunately, the Unitarian Universalist religious community isn't even capable of living up to that principle within the context of their own religious community, let alone being able to, make that, even moderately realistic in the much bigger real world, as it were. And specifically on the issues of liberty and justice, Unitarian Universalists have gone to considerable lengths to pervert justice in order to suppress my constitutionally guaranteed civil rights and freedoms. So in other words, Unitarian Universalists have actively, knowingly and willfully, totally violated the sixth principle in terms of doing everything they can to suppress my liberty in certain areas, and misusing and abusing the justice system to do so. I mean, they've perverted justice within their own church, rules and so on, procedures. They've perverted justice in numerous ways in terms of, and not just me, by the way, but when somebody files a clergy misconduct complaint, it seems that Unitarian Universalists fall all over themselves to pervert justice by basically pretending that the minister did nothing wrong and that the person who filed the complaint is actually a troublemaker and so on. The Unitarian Church of Montreal has basically violated its own bylaws and twisted its own bylaws and so on. But then if we come to the criminal justice system, or if we broaden it out a bit just in terms of the police, secular authorities, to use a term from UUA President Reverend Dr. John Burens. Actually, when I first complained about Reverend Ray Drennan's anti-religious intolerance and bigotry and related verbal and psychological abuse, UUA President John Burens at the time almost immediately threatened me with intervention by the secular authorities. I can't remember his exact words, but he used the term secular authorities, meaning, of course, the police and the criminal justice system. Basically, since quite early in this conflict, the Unitarian Church of Montreal has, in fact, repeatedly tried to use the so-called secular authorities to shut down this protest. I have a constitutionally guaranteed right to engage in peaceful public protest, and yet the Unitarian Church of Montreal has done all kinds of things to try and prevent me from engaging in this act of peaceful public protest, one of the last resorts of the democratic process, as it were. So tonight, as I did last night, I'm essentially protesting against the fact that Unitarian Universalists pervert justice to suppress liberty. So similar themes to some of the other earlier principles. But here we are. The concert starts at 8 o'clock, but I'm expecting people to show up somewhat earlier, which is one of the reasons I'm here significantly earlier than I normally would be. It was simply just a question of scheduling, I basically could have killed 20 minutes to half an hour before coming here, but the process of killing that 20 minutes to half an hour would possibly put me in a situation where I'd end up running late. So I decided not to bother and just come straight to the Unitarian Church of Montreal, at least 15 minutes earlier than I would normally do in a situation. I normally try to show up about a half hour or so before an event takes place, and rarely more than an hour before. And in this case, I do believe it's pretty close to a full hour before the concert gets started. I'll just check the time. Yeah, it's 7:12, so I've already been here for several minutes. So yeah, when I first started this little exercise, it was a full hour before the scheduled start of the concert. So it looks like we have some people here. I've been considering putting some chalk slogans down, but the sidewalk has got a lot of dirt on it from the construction, which makes it hard to put down chalk. So we may just skip that. So a couple of people came in to the church. So as I thought, you know, some people are showing up fairly early for this event. It looks like we have a few more coming this way. So in my right hand, I'm displaying a picket sign that says Unitarian hypocrisy and hubris. Suck you, asterisk you. In my left hand, a Unitarian perversion of justice. Sucks you, asterisk you. I think I may... So, yes, the people who arrived seconds ago are leaving for some reason, but some other people are showing up. So yeah, in terms of the themes that we're dealing with, definitely this Unitarian perversion of justice sign is certainly very appropriate to the sixth principle, which, as I said, calls for world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Something that Unitarian Universalists can't even apply with any kind of consistency within their own religious community, their own small community. They can't even, you know, they not only don't make an effort in many cases to live up to that principle, but they actively violate it. So yeah, I'm keeping that sign. Let's see now. Yes, I think I will switch up the signs and put a different sign. Unitarians censor and suppress critics. You use censor and suppress critics. I think that goes well with the theme of liberty. So yeah, we're going to show those two picket signs. I really do have to get around to making some new picket sign slogans. I've been meaning to do that for some time, and not necessarily like new slogans. It may be the same slogan or a very similar one, but with new paper. So another person who entered the church and then seems to be leaving again fairly quickly. Not sure what that's all about. But as I said, it's you know, 3/4 of an hour before the concert or hymn singing thing is supposed to start, and so who knows what's going on with that. Anyhow, yeah, still thinking about putting down some chalk here. But as I said, you know, due to the dirt on the sidewalk, it's a bit problematic. I think I may just leave well enough alone. Well, there's an idea. I could put down chalk there, right in front of the church entrance, but it's kind of dirty, and you're starting to get into church property issues, although strictly speaking that first 3 feet back from the sidewalk is not church property. Still, we shall just we'll stick to the picket signs for now. It should be adequate. Anywho, so keep up this little running monologue. As I said, it is Saturday, December 7th, 2013, and it is the 6th day of the Unitarian Universalist holiday, series of days of observance called Chalica. This is a fairly recent idea that some Unitarian Universalists came up with some years ago. I believe this is the 4th or 5th year that this observation has been going on. And the idea is that the first Monday in December is the beginning of the observance of Chalica, and it finishes up with the first Sunday in December. And the idea is that each day is a day to celebrate or commemorate each of the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. So Monday, December the 1st, the first day of Chalica, was a day where those who actually observe Chalica, which are by no means the majority of Unitarian Universalists from what I can see. It seems to be a fairly small percentage of Unitarian Universalists actually observe this holiday. But nonetheless, the first principle of Unitarian Universalism affirms and promotes the inherent worth and dignity of every person, which, sounds like a pretty good principle, ideal, essentially having respect for the inherent worth and dignity of each person. Unfortunately, Unitarian Universalists don't seem to be any better at living up to that principle than anyone else. And I say in some ways they're worse. Especially when you hold this up as your principle, and then you make, every effort to go around insulting and abusing people, you're basically a hypocrite, Not every religion has as its, fundamental principle, or at least one of them, respecting the inherent worth and dignity of every person. I mean, that basic concept is certainly in Christianity and Judaism and so on, although not necessarily every person. Just had a black cat cross my path. Oh, better get all superstitious here. I haven't, not too many cats cross my path when I'm doing this. I suspect it's because of the construction. There's much less traffic, and then so cats that might otherwise not even think of crossing the street here are doing so. Anyway, let's get to the second principle of Unitarian Universalism, which is one of my favorites. The second principle of Unitarian Universalism calls for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. So that is a pretty good principle, that calls for justice, calls for fairness. I mean, that's what equity means. It means fair treatment. And of course, it's got that equi-root in it. It's, essentially hinting at equality, equal treatment. So you shouldn't have, one set of standards for one set of people and a different set of standards for other people, which again is part of true justice. And then, that's all qualified by a call for compassion. So I guess we're talking justice and fairness that is characterized or balanced by compassion. And again, the Unitarian Universalists that I've dealt with do a terrible job of living up to that principle. I mean, so many outrageously hypocritical double standards that I've encountered amongst the Unitarian Universalists that I've dealt with. But I'm not saying they're all like that, but there's just so much unequal, unfair treatment, especially in terms of, you know, when there's a conflict, you know, when somebody, again, if we come back to clergy misconduct, especially the response to a clergy misconduct complaint, in my experience, and also in terms of my observation, in terms of how other cases have been handled, you know, the minister that's being complained about has all of the benefit of the doubt. More often than not, the complaint is arbitrarily dismissed or totally ignored, and the person who brought the complaint is basically shoved out of the congregation, threatened with legal action, and so on. So definitely not equity, and definitely not compassionate, and definitely not justice. So, like, again, in terms of clergy misconduct, you know, you can just pretty well forget about Unitarian Universalists actually practicing genuine justice, equity, and compassion in human relations in terms of the victims and complainants. So the third principle, if I remember correctly, is acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth within Unitarian Universalist congregations. So this is principle basically calling for acceptance within the context of the Unitarian Universalist religious community, and above and beyond acceptance, encouragement to spiritual growth. And again, another principle where Unitarian Universalists, in my experience and observation, have fallen down very badly. And this is due in no small measure to the fact that Unitarian Universalists not only accept atheists as members, but also as clergy. And again, it's not every atheist. It may not even be a majority of the Unitarian Universalist atheists, but there's a definite subset of atheist Unitarians that are very anti-religious. You know, they basically think that people who believe in God are delusional, stupid, you know, they haven't got a clue, and so on. If somebody dares to speak about some kind of religious experience, well, then you're automatically labeled psychotic. And not just me, by the way. I mean, yes, this did happen to me in terms of Reverend Ray Drennan characterizing a revelatory religious experience that I had as a psychotic experience and angrily insisting I seek psychiatric treatment. But other people have similarly been dumped upon by intolerant atheists. You know, so certainly the intolerant atheist faction of Unitarian Universalists just regularly make a total mockery of the third principle because they are not accepting of God-believing people in general, Christians in particular, and you know, far from encouraging any theists' spiritual growth, quite the opposite. They,
what the hell is a Unitarian church?
Unitarian?
What is this?
It began as Christians that deny the Trinity.
I'm Armenian. We invented Christianity. I'm apostolic Christian. And then the Jews fucked up my religion, by the way. So tell me what's going on here. What the fuck is
well,
this?
the Unitarians fucked up your religion.
What is it?
They were, well, essentially, yeah, that's like very sort of interfaith kind of banner they just put up recently.
Yeah.
and I'm not sure quite what it means, in terms of what they're trying to say.
To me, it looks. Look, I see a cross.
Of course, yeah.
I see the Islam
right
crest.
Right.
I see the. Hold on. The jihadi. You see? And I see.
Yeah, my eyesight's not superb. I have astigmatism.
I see the three main religions, and I see even Buddhism.
Right.
In
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Oh, it'll have all of the major religions and probably a few minor ones.
So you go.
What does it say? I can't read it.
Vivre ensemble, live in harmony.
Okay, live in harmony. Okay, and okay, that's good.
Okay.
Well, they do a terrible job of doing that, actually.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. What's going on here?
What you may not know about this church?
I have no idea.
In spite of all that stuff up there, all that sort of very religious-looking stuff, a lot of Unitarian Universalists are atheists. They don't even believe in God. Period.
Oh my God.
And some of those atheists, not all of them, but a certain percentage of the atheist Unitarians are actually anti-religious. In other words, if you believe in God, if you're a Christian, you're stupid, you're delusional, you don't know what the fuck's going on.
One person tells that to me, not even being physically violent or anything, I'll put them in their places.
Well, I'm putting them in their place, but not being physically violent.
No, of course.
I'm just, verbally slapping them around a little bit. And that's exactly what happened to me, because I used to be a member of this church.
Yes.
And I'm a theist. I believe in God.
Okay.
And when I joined, it was actually quite a Christian-oriented minister.
Yes. Then it changed.
And it changed, exactly.
Okay,
the next minister...
my religion changed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bible changed too. You never read the real Bible in Armenian, my friend. Completely different. It's called Astvatashunch.
Right.
It's only in Armenian.
Right.
I've read that, and I read the Holy Bible. I was like, this is completely too... What the hell is going on?
Right.
Somebody put their hands on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it depends, who put their hands on what. I mean, we can debate about...
You're Jewish?
No, I'm not Jewish. No, okay. No. I'm basically non-denominational, like I said.
Okay, so you're a member of this church?
No, I used to be a member of the church. I got kicked out. Well,
you got kicked out?
Yeah, the minister that I'm talking about, the atheist minister, the intolerant atheist minister.
Yeah.
When he joined the church, I tried to sort of explain who I am to him and what I'm doing.
Yes.
I had actually organized an interreligious event that brought together different religions to celebrate care for the creation.
Yes.
It was sort of like a spiritual Earth Day kind of thing.
Of course.
He called this a cult.
Oh.
And he meant it in the worst possible way. Now, by definition, an interreligious event can't be a cult anyway, because there's a bunch of different religions getting together, so it's obviously not a cult. But he was trying to slander it and discredit it and so on. As I said, I'm claiming a pretty profound mystical experience.
Yes. So you
this was my psychotic experience, according to him. And I had to seek psychiatric treatment.
That's what he says?
Yes. Yeah, I was trying to explain this to him, and he interrupted me.
I have diagnostic with my psychiatrist. Did you know that?
No.
Tell him to come discriminate me.
Well, he's gone.
Okay? Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Somebody that puts you down is not a religious person.
Yeah, no, well, this guy was like...
just by that, I can tell you that nobody here in this church is religious.
Yeah.
All right?
Well, I tend to agree. They put it this way... they tend to totally ignore their own principles. They have their own claimed ideals and principles.
Okay.
There's 7 principles that they specifically claim to, honor and uphold and so on.
Okay.
And in terms of their dealings with me, they've made a total mockery of every single one of them. Continuously, not just once or twice.
So what, do they have a pastor? What is it? A reverend?
Yeah, they have a reverend. Reverend Diane Rollert is the new minister. And tonight there's carol singing and so on, so I figured it'd be a good time to protest.
Just by curiosity, should I just walk in, take a look, and walk out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I'm just curious. I'm very curious.
Yeah, the principles I'm talking about are on a metal plaque.
They know you're here?
Yes, they know I'm here. I'm pretty sure.
Do they piss you off?
They
give you looks, huh?
They do more than that. They do a lot more than that. They've pressed criminal charges against me. They've called the police dozens and dozens of times to try and get rid of me.
What did the cops tell you?
It varies. You know how cops are, So some cops are good and some cops are not so good. And so I get some real dumbasses, that try to get rid of me.
Obviously.
But
you still come back?
Oh, yeah.
And what's your mission? What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to change their minds a little, but I'm also trying to inform the public that this church is fucked up.
That's very good.